There he is. How are you, man?
Hi, good, good.
Thank
You?
you for doing this. You are my official first guest of the rebirth of my podcast.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we'll just get straight into it if that's okay. I'm
Right.
recording, just to let you know, we are recording it, so I can obviously share this around. Um, but I wanted to give some life back to the podcast, especially now I'm kind of close and friendly with a lot of you drivers from Drift Masters. I thought it was a great opportunity to get you lot on and talk to you guys about yourselves, the season that have been, the season finale that's coming up in front of 53,000 people in a stadium, which is going to be absolutely amazing. So I've got some questions I want to go through and just generally let a conversation flow, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. Looking
Cool.
forward.
Have you got a certain amount of time that you need to be out of here by, just so I can make sure I keep my eye on the clock?
No, I'm free until 6.
Perfect.
Just 2 hours
That's
free.
your time.
Yeah.
Six your time. So what time is it now in Norway?
It's 5 before 4.
Okay, we've got a couple of hours. Perfect. Anyway, right, let's get started.
All
Orjan,
right.
welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much
Thank
for being
you.
my first guest. It's awesome because you were one of the drivers. I don't want to be rude, but when I got into Drift Masters, I'd never met or heard of you before because obviously from a faraway land compared to me. And that was getting into competitive drifting. I know obviously knew a lot of the Irish lot and the English lot, obviously from being and dabbling around this area, but getting to meet all you guys from around Europe has been amazing. Let's talk about this season because for anyone that doesn't know, Orjan's probably had the roughest season out of many on the grid. So just let's just run over it, man. Like where did the problems start this season? Because it's not really been down a driver error. A lot of it seems to have been mechanical or just a bit of hard luck.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was actually working quite hard this winter to, I'm hungry. I was feeling very hungry for this season because, we've been in Drift Masters. The first time was in 2020 when the COVID hits. We were
Yep.
going to do the full season, and then it was only the one event, and we learned a
So
lot from that.
sorry to interrupt. 2020 season. What happened in that? Because I actually didn't join Drift Masters until 2021.
Yeah, so they were doing the full season, but eventually it was only the King of Riga.
Uh-huh.
So they named the event to Drift Masters King of Riga, like you're a champion of Riga.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was really hard. Like people hated in Norway that people were leaving the country. So I
Right.
was keeping actually a very low profile.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring a lot of attention to me going out to drift in another country when the COVID was at worst. But we managed it and did a lot of COVID tests. I think I spent like €1,000 on COVID tests, just stupid, but we needed to. Um, so that was a good race, but I was beaten in top 32 by it was um, this guy with the BMW, black BMW, Marcus Agril.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got beaten out by him. Very valuable. And then the 2021 was a little bit better, still COVID, but we had four
Austria
races.
and Riga, right? And it was a double weekender because that was when I
Yeah, double
joined the
weekend,
championship. So
very hectic
hard
weekend.
on the cars. Oh my god! And for you
Oh,
lads in the cars, but wow,
yeah.
like
And
I
I still remember the heat in Austria,
oh
going
man,
racing all those days. And yeah, wow. Well, that was 4 races in 2 weekends. And then the 2022 was the first like full season. And we had some ups and downs last year too. Like very remarkable weekend for me was the Riga after jumping in Sweden with the car. Um, Coming
let me
back.
just stop you just there. Let's just talk about that because typically both of your spectacular crashes I've missed both of them. And they've both happened in Sweden, right? So at different points on the track. But that first one in 2022, looked horrendous. So, like, can we just go, like, what goes through your head when the car just instantly barrel rolls, like when you've dropped a wheel, right? Because that's kind of what happened. You dropped a wheel as you were transitioning, and the car just 360 flipped, basically. If anybody's ever seen a skateboarder do a 360 flip, it's like the car like inverts on itself while it's spinning round.
Yeah.
What was going through your head at that time? Like,
That was the 2022 one, right?
yes, the
Yeah,
2022 one.
the first time. So I remember the track was heating up. The sun had been on the track all day
And night.
and night. Yeah, it never gets dark up there.
Never gets dark.
So confusing. So I remember going through that run. It was very grippy because the tarmac was so hot. So I was really working and pushing the car really hard to get out to these zones. And this track is super fast. You're initiating like 130 or something, and you're not slowing very much down. So you're keeping the speed, and then you come through the inside clip where that's one of the slower part of the tracks, where you are really accelerating out of that one and into the out of some 5, I think it was, which is now called the Orjan Nilsen corner.
Surely you have 2 corners there now. We'll get into that in a second.
I got 2 corners. That's nice. And I'll just remember that I was feeling now I'm dropping a wheel like normal drifting. You feel when you were going to drop a wheel, and you expect that you're just going to get back up on the track. So I pushed the clutch to get the grip to bring it back on the track, but that didn't happen. So it just took the car and grabbed it and just threw it up in the air. And that one was really hard because the movement of the car made me move in my seat. Like I have my belts always very tight, but I remember that being like very hard. And then I landed like it flipped the car up and to the left, and then I landed like this on the rim. And thankfully, the tire debeaded from the rim. So I think that if I would run one of my my smaller rims, then the tire would actually grab the car or grip it when I land, and then flip.
Yeah.
So the tire debeaded. I was sliding on the rim like this, and then boom into the ground. So it went really fast, and that one was actually, if you compare to the one this year, where I actually rolled 2 times. This one was much worse for my body,
right?
In terms of my back. I remember I came out of the car last year. I couldn't breathe because the shock was just so hard to my body, and I actually struggled with my back in 6 months after that one. And it's good now, but yeah, it was insane. I mean, wow.
Yeah, wow, boy, and it was terrifying. Like I only saw the car afterwards, but before we get on to the next one, I need to kind of just see. Do you have a microphone or anything, like a headset that you could plug in? I've made him do a little bit of audio adjustments, so hopefully it'll be a lot more one level of volume, because it was kind of going like this the whole time. If everybody can't see my hand,
That's
like
not
a wave,
good.
so no. So
it's better now.
So yeah, that first crash wheel was pretty terrifying because I remember I missed the whole thing. I was busting for a wee, so I was like, right, I know Orjan's going to get around because it's just qualifying, right? It was practice. It was like not even like main competition, so it was like, oh, I'll just quickly run in, go for a wee, and then come back out. And as I've come back out, Becky Evans was like rushing around, and I was like, what's going on? And she was like, have you seen Orjan? I was like, no. She was like, he just flipped his car, and I was like, no, like, oh no, like. And then this year, it's once again in Sweden. I felt really bad because I came over to you, didn't I? And I was like, "Yep, no space flights today, please." And then what did you do?
Yeah. And I also did that on my blog. I was saying that I'm not flipping this year.
Oh
And there
man.
was guys coming over like before this and just so you're gonna keep all the tires on the ground this weekend, yeah? Oh yeah. Bro, what
Oh
happened?
man. Oh man.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Well, I have to say, obviously, getting to be on the ground floor at the events is awesome for me because I love it. But like when I heard what happened, because obviously that track is so difficult to watch every corner. So
yeah,
where I was stood, like I didn't know that. So when I come back out, saw everyone bringing your car back in, and wow. But the thing that I remember the most about that whole thing wasn't even the crash. It was the after the crash, the team and other teams all running over. Number one, making sure you were okay. Because I remember coming over to you and you had dirt in your eyes and you could barely look at me because your eyes were so tight from all the dirt in them. Your whole car, you had a new windscreen cut and made at the track. At
yeah,
the team getting that car back together, and I feel like that was one of the stories of the season for me, where it shows what drifting really is. Because what people see on the streams or on the broadcasts and video games of just the cars skidding is only, to me, it's like the icing on the cake, right?
yeah,
The actual drifting side of it. But when you're in competitive drifting, because I only ever did grassroots stuff, like that's I love it, but I can't afford to do the competition, and you have to start in at the ground floor, right? There's no instant access to drift masters. You can't just be like, hey, I've done 17 drift days now, can I come and drift with James Dean and Orjan Nilsen? It's like, no. so
yeah,
so like I get to get in on the ground floor of, in my opinion, the best drift series in the world. Obviously I'm a bit biased because I work for them, but I think it's true. But getting to watch everyone and the emotion, and I feel like Red Bull probably loved that as well. Obviously I can't speak on behalf of them. I don't actually work directly for Red Bull, but I'm sure that they loved that story, and the celebrations when you're going up and down the pits and then the car dying again. Oh, it was just, oh man, like watching that whole thing, and the fact that Sora is still going is kind of amazing. And I kind of wanted to now touch on the Sora itself. This is something that because I have a car relationship myself, a car that I've had a very long time, that I couldn't ever imagine me ever selling. Like, I feel like it's one of those cars that if I could be buried in it, then I would like that. Like, I don't care if no one
yeah,
ever sees it again, because it's my car. That's how I see it. And I
yeah.
feel like this is very much like you with the Sora, because the Sora isn't a hugely popular chassis anymore in top level drifting, but you managed to pilot it really well. Do you mind us just talking about that for a little while? Like, when did you get it, and just how did it feel when you picked it up for the first time?
So that was a very special day. Just found a picture a couple of minutes ago where it was the first day when I picked up the car. And it's thinking back, I was only 17
Do you mind
or
me asking
16.
quickly how old you are now?
I'm 28 years old.
So
So
11 years with that car.
actually, I picked it up in 2011. So it's been 12
Awesome.
years. And we spent a year, like, I had no rush. It was quite random with this car, actually, because I knew I had to find a car that was cheap, and like, I didn't have a lot of money, and my family, yeah, I had to work hard to make it happen. But so I was looking for like a BMW E30 or something.
It's so funny saying BMW E30 and cheap in the same sentence now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. That would be insane
Yeah.
today. So yeah, there was this guy in a street car club here in my hometown that knew that I was looking for a car. So he sent me a text message like, "Hey, I have a car. You might be interested." Never heard of the car. Like, Toyota Soarer, what is
Yeah.
that? And it's still like for me today when I say to people what car I have, like, what car is that? So it's not a popular car, as you say. So it was quite random. He had a car, used the little money I had on it, got it cheap, bought it without the engine, and then rolling with the car back home. It was such a special day. I was just 16, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know I've been drifting a lot on like the simulator since I was 9 years old or something.
Okay,
So
I was gonna get to that. I was gonna ask you about that sort of stuff, but yeah, like cool. So you'd kind of let me just break up the story a little bit. So before you'd bought your car at 16, you'd been drifting for 7 years on a simulator.
Yeah,
Wow.
basically.
Okay, so you knew you wanted to get into drifting before you
Oh
bought
yeah.
the car. Okay, cool.
That was my life after school. It was going home, doing drifting on the evenings, in the weekends on the simulator. Man, I spent so many hours on that one. So yeah, one day it just happened. Like my mom was not open for it. My dad was open for it. So it's like me and my brother Mats, and me and my dad. We were all for it. So let's go buy it. And we did. And that's where it all started. So we brought the car back home and we spent a year building it, like to the first season, because we didn't have the budget to let anyone else do it. My my dad has a welding machine. We bought the simplest parts. We had to get the engine because the car was without the engine. And yeah, just got a basic stock 1JZ for it with a OM gearbox. And we welded the differential. We did some research on the internet, like how to do a drift car. Yeah, you have to have the coilovers, like the cheap drift coilovers, weld the diff, maybe put on a 3-inch exhaust to get a little bit more power, open air filter. So it was really basic stuff.
Yeah.
And we went to the local tire shop. I was actually working at 1 year at a local tire shop, and after each day, if I found some tires that the customer were replacing that was good for drifting, I kept it and brought it back home. And that was my first full year. I only run the used tires, so that was a really cheap, good fun.
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah. And then we signed up for the Norwegian, or what was that? Then it was Power Drift.
How old were you at the time?
17. When I was doing this season. I started when I was 16, and then 17. So the 2012 was the first season, and we had a lot of like small troubles with the car, but we managed to get it working fast. And I attended the junior class in the Power Drift series, which it doesn't exist anymore, but it was like the big series at that time. And did a junior championship, got third. We were like 5 people in that series or in that class, but it was good fun. I really loved the competition side of it, and the car was working very good. And yeah, we just did it year after year. And I did the junior championship also in 2013. And I actually won the junior championship that year. Yeah, so that was my first big season. Lots of memories, and yeah, I learned so much about myself that year, and we as a team. So a lot was like starting from that point. So I was still doing sim driftings on the evenings, to get better, and that's been like a very important tool for me through the years to just keep drifting. Yeah.
It's so interesting. I hadn't actually got anything about sim drifting written down, but I'd like to talk about it for a second, really, because I started drifting in a BMW E36, and then I tried sim drifting, and I can't do it. Like I cannot do it. It's so irritating. I've got the wheel, I've got all the handbrake and Assetto Corsa, and I can't do it all. Yeah, and I've sat with one of my friends. I'll give him a little shout out, Ravi from V2 Lab Sorcery over in America. I went around his house because he does it, and he was like, "Use this," and I was like, "All right." I tried, and I couldn't do it. And then I actually tried it on Adam LZ's home simulator when I was hanging out with him one weekend, and it was the most embarrassing thing ever, because it was the first time me and him had properly hung out 1-to-1. Like we'd met each other here and there before, but we were hanging out on like getting on really well, and he had some stuff to do, and he was lending me his 350Z to drift in that evening, and he was like, just go and like get on the sim if you want while I do these other bits. And I was like, yeah, all right. So I've got the VR headset on, and I'm crashing every corner. I started to feel sick with his headset on, and I heard him come in, and he literally said, I hope you're better in real life than this, because I'm lending you my car. And I was like, I promise. You put me in a car, I can do it. Like, but on the sim, I can't. So do you feel like any budding sim drifters out there that struggle like me, is there an easier way to sort this problem out, or is it just one of those things in my brain that I'm never going to conquer because I can't?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have a lot of friends that want to try out, and they think it's easy because when I drive, like I've been driving since I was 9, so it's just all natural for me. But when I see them drive, they're just, oh, it's so bad. But I think it's really hard to get the same feeling. And I also, if it's been a long while since I did the sim drifting, I actually find it hard to get back into that, like zone where you are rubbing the walls without hitting them.
Mm-hmm.
But because in the Seto, if you hit the wall, like with this much of your bumper, you're going to spin out or something. So there's no forgiving. And I actually think that's a good tool to have, that you can't hit the wall. You have to be close, but you can't hit it because it's going to punish you. I don't know. You just have to drive the VR so you don't get sick. Like do the short.
I tell you what I do enjoy on the old VR racing is I like grip stuff as well. I'm not just a drift guy, so I've got other cars that aren't drift cars, and I have a Renault. Do you have Renault Clios over in Norway?
Sorry?
A Renault Clio. Do you have them in Norway? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So I have the sport version of one of those, like the 200 brake horsepower thing.
Nice.
And I like driving that around the Nürburgring, trying to learn the corners and because I really hope to spend some time over there next year, probably in that car.
Cool.
So that's where I enjoy it. But what I feel like for me, obviously I can't speak on behalf of everybody else, only on myself. For those that struggle with the sim stuff, is I think I drive through feeling. I think a lot of it comes through the feeling in my, through the keys and what I feel through my arse in the bumps in the car, and what feedback am I getting from the steering wheel, and where are the tires at heat wise. And I understand they can't kind of replicate that in game, but I feel like, and this is only, like I said, only from what my personal experience is, like, I don't feel like if you learn in a car properly first and then you go into VR, it's easier to translate, other than if you start in VR and then get into a car. Does that make sense when I say that? So like for me, starting drifting in an E36 at the wonderful Santa Pod and going a T-side and crashing and putting up the bank at Driftland, and I hurt myself really badly like in that car, but like it was valuable lessons to learn. Because it didn't just get over the fear of drifting itself, but you get over the fear of crashing properly and the cost implications of it, and it makes you not more careful, but you kind of if I do that again, I'm in trouble. And I don't know whether with VR I kind of just feel like I can crash this car 4 billion times and I can just turn the computer off and it doesn't matter. I don't know. I just find it really difficult, and it's something that my friend George the other day said, like, I found these new settings that we should try on your wheel. Maybe we can get it to work for you, because I don't get to drift very much where I live. The closest tracks we have are only open in the winter for me, which is Santa Pod, which is literally a car park where they put cones out and you get to drift around a car park. And then the closest real tracks are go-kart tracks. So you have T-side, which is up in Middlesbrough. And then you've also got Three Sisters Circuit, which is a real circuit, but they only have drifting on set weekends. And I find it really difficult to get into, because I feel like it's one of those, you have to be on the mailing list and you've got to be checking. And I got lucky. Do you remember Ollie Evans from last year in the Grey S15? Yeah. So he got me onto a day there. So I got to go and drift with him, and it was great fun. I really liked it. But it's like 7-hour journey with a trailer each way for me. So then it's hotels and the cost of dragging the car up there and the daily's fuel, and if I have to have a hotel each night or stay at a friend's house, but we're still getting up bare early in the morning, and it's like, wow, this sucks. It's like one of those things where it's just not really applicable. So I thought, if I could get into sim drifting, that would be really great. And then I tried it and I was like, no, I can't do this. So
how many tries did you give it?
maybe like 3.
Like 3, yeah.
It's just one of those things, Orjan. Like my brain just flatlines when it comes to like VR. I think like because everyone's like, well, you need to get a better wheel, you need to do this, and then you look at the prices of stuff, and I'm like, that's the price of a drift car. Like I'm not buying a fake car when I've got a real one that I could fix up and take on holiday somewhere, like go to Ireland. And like that's how my brain kind of works, because like I've just got one of those cheap Logitech wheels. It's a G28 or 29 or something like that. I don't know. Like it's just this thing.
Yeah.
And I mean it works fine. Like for the Nürburgring stuff, I love it. It's great fun just to cruise around in like a Clio or whatever for me. But like my brain just gets annoyed at myself, and I'm just like, what am I doing? So do you have any advice to give to people like me that have no attention span and really struggle but would like to be able to do it? Like,
I guess just it's like trying to learn to drift in real life. You have to be patient. I think you're not gonna be a drift king in one day.
I want to be.
Yeah, we all want to do it. I still struggle at new tracks, and I think, it's like very different what you're saying. It's very different from drifting in real life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get the feeling through your like feet or the body. You don't feel the power. You don't feel the speed at the same way. Mm-hmm. So I guess you just have to push the limits in the game. Try to focus on having like don't focus too much on what you're doing with the wheel. Just let it flow, really. And that's like it's the basics of drifting. Mm-hmm. You just have to give it a lot of time. Don't give up, because you're going to make it. So my brother Mats, who is like my best friend, and this journey that I'm on would never be possible without him. He was there when we picked up the car back in 2011, mm-hmm. like, and he's been there ever since. In 2020, I quite got him to buy his own setup. He's never been driving a lot on the simulator before, and he's like you, like he's been drifting on the winters with his own car and not really been into the sim like me. And he started like spinning out all the time, and like he was so furious. Like he thought he would never make it, and now he's like nailing all the tracks that we do. We always drive a lot before an event together, so he would do a lot of lead runs basically because I want to do chase.
Yeah, cool.
But he's driving so good, so I guess just have to keep driving.
Yeah. So your brother is part of your team, and this is something I wanted to touch on because I think a lot of people look at Drift Masters and they think everybody's really rich and they get to travel around Europe with their race teams, you know, living the dream, staying in fancy hotels, partying all the time, you know. But the reality of drifting is very, very different from what I'm finding. There might be a couple of the lads that get to live that lifestyle that have worked their way up through either other championships or Calais Rovanpera, for instance. Like he's a superstar, right, of the WRC world. Eric Gokshow, Dakar Safari. We've got Kuba Poskonsky, who's also a Dakar Safari race. You know, there's a lot of big names joining drifting, but you also got the hardcore lot like yourself, the Shanahans. I could name many teams, you know, Oliver Randalou. There's lots of very small teams that are friend and family groups that make this happen for the driver of the championship. So can we talk about your team for a little bit? Because I can't obviously even start to imagine what it's like, because my journey starts a couple of days before the event. I hop on a flight, I get flown in, sleep overnight in a hotel, rock up to the track. I do what I do, whether it's the Instagram and the TikToks and that, chat to everybody, hang out, and then I fly home. But for you guys, it's completely different. I see people like yourselves and Diego Correa like the journeys that, you know, from Spain and yourself from Norway, like you guys have to really start your journeys early. What is it like getting to make these memories of these huge road trips with the lorry and the cars and just making it happen? Because it looks like it's a lot of effort and work, but is it worth it? You know, does it feel worth it to you guys? And what is it like making the memories with your family and your best friends?
Yeah, it's what you're saying is, I mean, so true, because there is a lot of different teams on the grid, like you're saying. And I mean, everyone has worked hard to get there somehow,
Absolutely.
you know. So they deserve it, even though they have more fancy lives, fancy teams, fancy cars. They even have maybe 2 cars at an event. So for me, that would be just crazy, budget-wise and
Think how
time.
many of them you could flip.
Yeah, just going in my second car. No, so what you're saying, like my team, it's not like the one person thing. So people see the driving and the race, they see the glory of it. It would never be possible without like a couple of guys that I have in my team. And Mats, who is my brother, older brother, he's like 8 years older than me. And the fun fact there is actually that he is the one that got me interested in cars.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so he like built that upon me. He had, or he still has actually, the Toyota Celica GT4 Color Science Edition. And when I was in 8th grade, I loved to just work on his car, polish it, do stuff, join him on the rides. So he made me very interested, and that's been quite nice to have that journey together with him. So when I started with drifting, like we became really, really close, because he had his life and I had mine. But then when I started with this, he was just all in, and it's been so great to have that journey with him ever since. And we've been learning a lot about ourselves. It's not always like the very good, like there's ups and downs, but we are very strong together. And then we have Andreas, which is my spotter. He joined the team, was it 5 years ago, something around that. I actually met him on the sim drifting back in 2011 or something. So we've known each other for a long time, and then we met each other at Ivell and just really connected. And then he started joining the race as a spotter and is doing such a great job. He's been spotting for Ola Jäger in Formula Drift. He really knows his stuff. And yeah, very, very cool to have him on a journey. So that's me, Andreas, and Mats. And then we have my girl in my life, the girl in my life, Susanne. She joined, or actually we became together, it's more correct to say. She joined my life in in 2018. And she's not like the car person. She grew up out in the country in the middle of the Norway. So she's been not working with cars. So that was quite new. I mean, she would prefer to change her brakes on the car. She wouldn't let her dad help her.
Right.
So
okay.
she can wrench, you know.
Yeah.
But she was not interested. She was not into cars in that way. But then she joined this journey that I was on, and we moved in together, and it's been some really good years. We've been together since. Now we live together, and she's been really supporting me in this journey. You know, it's been amazing because she's been like pushing me into the workshop. Like, should we do the engine work? Should we do some fiberglass? If I'm like not that motivated, sometimes that happens. You know, it's not always like glory. You have to, you know, you want to spend your Sunday relaxing, and then you know you have to fix the fiberglass panels, you know.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, we should go to the workshop today and I will help you. And she's been like that through the year, and it just amazes me. I don't know what to say because it means so much to me. I don't think I would push that hard into this without her now. So that's quite fun to do this journey together. I do realize that, like, I feel that sometimes it's a little bit selfish from my side because she sacrificed a lot, and not only her, like Mats and the other guys in the team, they sacrifice so much for me, and I don't feel that I can like give back in the same way. So that, I guess that's just how it is. And I always say to them that I hope that you would never do this if you didn't find it fun. Like, it's supposed to be fun, right?
Yeah, of course.
That's what it's all about.
Of course. Well, she has a sorry to interrupt, but I don't. Before we move on from talking about her, she's got a great job for yourself as a drifter. The fact that she's an osteopath, so all these accidents Orjan keeps having, he doesn't pay a penny to the osteopath to get fixed up. He just goes home and his girlfriend fixes him. I actually went up to her at one point and I was like, "Is this muscle look bad to you?" And she felt it. She was like, "Yeah, that hurt. Get to the doctor when you get home." And I did, because it was bad. But what a great job for somebody to have, that you're managed to start dating and become part of your team. I think it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, we've been joking about that because just recently in Germany, we had this Norwegian fellow drifter who was really struggling with his back, and he came over and he would just looked like he was in pain, you know. And I asked, what's wrong? Like, and he told me, and I told Susanne, we have some issues here. So she actually helped him because he was in so much pain when drifting. He couldn't sit straight. And she fixed that like temporarily. So I was joking that we should have maybe like
an osteopath booth at your site. I'd be your main customer. I'm wrecked, man. My back is constant. I literally was at the osteopath emergency appointment last night because I'm in so much agony the whole time. So I'd be there straight away. I'd be like, "Come on, let's go."
So she would just quit the team and just run through the teams doing the osteopath.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And your parents come occasionally as well.
Yeah, my parents, they have been supporting me so much through the years, just all the small things. My dad, he's retired, not working anymore, and he's really a person like me that needs to do stuff. Like, he needs to have something to do with his hands, or I've been very inspired by him up through the years. So he helps me a lot. He sends me like a message when I'm at work. Is there something I should do? Should we like fix this? And he will do it. Like, when I come home from work, he's already done it.
Yeah, that's great.
He unpacks everything when I come home. It's just all the small things. And it was actually recently in last year, they had the first time at a Drift Masters event. So at the beginning of my journey in 2012, like, he was the one, he and my mom, they were the ones making it possible. Like, I didn't have the driver's license. He arranged the trailer and got us to the races. My mom made food and everything, to make it possible. So they were at every race in the beginning, and then when I became 18, then they slowly was more helping at home, but not at the races. So there was a couple of years they were not joining the races because they were getting older and a little bit tired. But recently, last year in Drift Masters, they joined for Germany, and they were hooked. They loved it so much, and now they want to go to almost all the races. And they just really love it. And for me, that means a lot because, at some point, it will be my, something to look back at, to share this with them. Still looking at the day when I picked up my car, and it's been a journey, and to share it with my brother, my girlfriend, my parents, it will be like something I will remember forever,
And they will too, and I think that's a big. the way I kind of look at the world is not everyone gets to be the main character, right? That's just kind of how it is. But it's so much fun to be able to be involved. Like even myself, like doing the Instagram stories and the TikTok, like trying TikTok. Like I'd never used TikTok until I got this job, and they were kind of like, "Do you reckon you can do it?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I was trying, and I couldn't work it out, and I was about to throw my phone onto the track and just leave it. And then, thankfully, I went to one of the Shanahan's mechanics at the time because he was 17, and I was like, "You're a child, teach me how to use this app." And he did. He showed me what I needed to do, and I felt like a right old man. I was like, "Man, this app is so out there for me. Like, I don't know what's going on, but like, it's just so much fun just to be able to be involved in it." And I think that everybody probably appreciates that because I see how hard they all work. I think if anybody wants to see what really goes into a team of a Drift Masters driver, it's best to hit up the Red Bull media player and have a look at the Sweden event, because watching your team, I mean, who won Sweden? I can't remember this was it Connor? No, it was
Last year or this year?
It was Juha this year.
Juha
Juha won it this year. But the main story that I think most people will remember will be your team getting your car back together. Does that make sense? Like after, because to me the car looked absolutely bent up. I was like, he's done for the weekend. And then you nearly went and qualified. You nearly went and beat the guy you're up against. So do you know what I mean? So it was like a lot, and it was emotional, and I think it was great to watch. And I think that drifting will only grow with emotional stories that people can get on board with and follow. And I think that's what Drift Masters is the best at doing, demonstrating the stories. You've got the drivers who are all so talented. There's teams that work so hard, not just for their own drivers, but for if there's a driver in need, you'll regularly see another team helping. Do you know what I mean? To get it back on the track. I think did Adam Zawecki's team help you out as well? There was Adam Zawecki's team. Who else? There was another team as well, right? But I can't remember.
You had Jem Olofsson, Kevin Rumberg. You had Benedicta's team. I think they helped a little bit too.
And these are drivers not even from your country. They're all over. They're going, no, we're gonna get this back. He's going out and driving again, even if he doesn't want to. So like that's I feel like what we need to be showing the world involved in drifting, because that's like the magic of it. Like I'm a big football fan. You can probably see I'm wearing my Arsenal top here. Like and there's a whole thing at the moment in football where Saudi Arabia are just buying all the best players, and they're paying them astronomical amounts of money. And if any Saudi representatives ever watch this podcast, I am available and I will take your money to come and do whatever you want. But because they're paying big. So I don't blame any of these players going over there. But it's almost like the argument because I went on the weekend to watch football, and the argument there was like, well, what's going to happen with the Premier League? And I was like, well, I'm an Arsenal fan. Like, I don't care if all of these players leave for Saudi Arabia. I'm not going to go to Saudi Arabia and watch them play. I'm going to come to the Arsenal and watch Arsenal play because of the history and the tradition and how they captivated my childhood. That was where I became an Arsenal fan when I was a kid, because I watched one player that changed my whole life, and I was like, that's my favorite player. That's the team I support now. And that was what it was. And I feel like if we can just implement certain aspects into drifting, because drifting is already an amazing thing, but just not the masses don't know about it yet. I don't understand how on like the sports radio stations that I listen to, there's never a drift segment. There's never we've got 53,000 people coming to Poland from all over Europe, filling the biggest stadium in Warsaw. This amazing stadium in Warsaw. That's going to be for us at Drift Masters. So you boys to go and any girls that maybe compete. I don't think we've got a girl compete, but we obviously had Chrissy Alto compete over in Finland. That was awesome to finally have a female representative in drifting, like at the highest level. It was awesome to see. I feel like drifting's bubbling, like the way I kind of see drifting, and I don't know if you feel the same, is it's like what the UFC was before the UFC went mainstream. So I've been into like MMA and all of that for a long time. Joe Rogan is like my idol when it comes to his career paths and how he does everything. And I've watched like the UFC for so long, like when it was a nothing thing, you know, when no one knew what Tap Out was, the clothing brand, and you know, it's like so crazy, and I just see drifting like that, and I'm like, man, this is gonna blow if this gets the right people involved and the right eyeballs on it and the right sponsors, which I think they are. I think even this season the sponsorships have grown, like having G2A come on, it's like a gaming reselling platform, like they're huge, and they're now a title sponsor. So it's like with like the new management and everything, I just feel like everything feels so positive, and I feel like you guys are like the guys that are pushing the sport to whole new worlds of people, and I hope it benefits you guys in the long run. You know, I hope that financially more money comes in for yourselves and more sponsorships will come in for yourselves, and it makes it even easier for you guys to do this sport. And because I love it, I really do. It's captivated me since I've got involved, and with Dave Egan bringing me on to the media team, I'll be forever grateful to Dave for allowing me the opportunity to get to know all you guys, because they're very free with what I get to do, and what they want is the relationships with the drivers to be able to show them exclusive stuff that no one else gets, you know. And I think that, you know, we try and make sure everyone gets a fair amount of airtime, which is very difficult when there's 63 drivers per round and only 6 rounds to do it. But I hope you guys as drivers feel like we do the best we can, and, you know, like we're always trying to find stories in the pits and what can we show people, what can excite the next generation, you know, because that's the main thing. I've got some other things I want to touch on though before, because I mentioned how many people you're going to be driving in front of. I mean, what is it like? How many days is it until we're over there? Is it like 10 days or something like that? It's not long, right? So we're in Poland within the next couple of weeks. We'll be in Poland.
It's very close.
Yeah, very close. I bet everything's ready. I'm not even going to touch on the car and all that sort of stuff, because that's up to you and your team, and I'm sure you're all have either been working hard or are still working hard at it. But inside, how does it feel knowing you're going to be drifting in front of 53,000 people in a stadium? Like, that's huge, man.
It's I didn't really expect it, to be honest. So I was like, okay, they're gonna do a stadium with that many seats, but maybe we'll get half, maybe we get 20. No, because I'm looking back at Wood last year, the final last year. That was maybe 11,000 or something, if I'm not incorrect. And the atmosphere there, it was mind blowing to be inside that stadium drifting in front of that crowd. It was just unbelievable, you know. That was next level for me. And then in Germany, I learned that they have sold out the arena. I'm going to drift in front of 53,000 people. Wow, I get the chills just thinking about it, you know. That was a dream I didn't know I had. You know, to do that, it's going to be like a memory for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I just really want to do you know, even to just be in a game, qualify and be in a game would be just so cool to be in front of that crowd. And you know, I think keeping my nerves calm will be something I will work on, because I remember in Woods last year, the crowd was so close to the track that when I was waiting on the start line, you could hear, you could feel it, like just outside the car. So many people watching, you know. And the track there it will hit you hard if you don't hit it right. So I think it's just going to be something I will remember forever, and I'm just going to enjoy it to the fullest, me and my team, and just, yeah, whatever happens. Wow, it's just so cool to be a part of this series, and they keep pushing so hard. It's really exciting to see how I don't know where it's going to be in 5 years, but I'm really positive. Like, they're doing good things, and I think this event will be like a new standard. I hope it will be a new standard for the sport, and it will bring a lot of extra attention. I think what you're saying with the sponsors, when people around the world start seeing this and hear the crowd, like 53,000 people cheering, on drifting. It's unbelievable, and I think it's going to really be a good thing for the sport. So yeah, all kudos to Drift Masters and to what they achieve, and yeah, just so cool to be a part of.
The Drift Masters team, like you just said, have done an absolutely incredible job to sell out this stadium. Like, this was a big task. I think when I heard that they'd got a stadium, I think it's called, I think to pronounce it correctly, it's the PGE Norgawe, I believe. I need to brush up on my Polish for that one because I'm obviously not going to get that wrong when I'm talking on the stories. But the fact that they've managed to do this is a huge testament to this team and the dedication that every single person involved has to this sport, because we really do this on a shoestring budget, even us as the media team and everything. And it's we do it because we love it. Like, there's no way any other job on this planet I would do for this amount of money. Do you know what I mean? But I do this because I truly feel honored to be able to be brought around, even just to be there. And the fact that I get to be a part of it a little bit. And I got to obviously stand in for Becky in Germany on the qualifications on Red Bull TV. I have to ask, because no one knew I was doing that, including me, until 15 minutes before we went live. I didn't know either. So how was it, you getting out of the car and it being me there? Because obviously you'd be usually speaking to Becky. And I was like, we did... did I do you first? I think because they called me down and they were only going to do a couple of interviews, I think, with me, and they were like, "Have you got any stories?" And I was like, "Well, Orjan's he's like 2 cars away. Do you want me to pull him in, because he's had an absolute nightmare season, and it's a great, as unfortunate it is for you, it's great for the story, right?" So I was like, let me get him out and get him on and give you an interview. And I wonder what you felt like with me stopping you in your car, because were you just like, "What's Adam doing?" Like, you know, like, I don't.
Yeah. It was like, because I'm used to you, like with your iPhone, filming, and here's Orjan Nilsen, you know, and I love that. I think it's so cool to see how you work around with the Instagram stuff. So when you stopped me there, I was just, what's happening? But I'm used to talking to you, and you made it so easy. It was just, I'm just really happy for you, because I know it's big. It's really big, you know, to be on a Red Bull TV, and
it was a really cool thing.
Just very happy for you, and I think it was a lovely chat.
I think so too, man, and it was so great because, like, I mean, just to be able to, like I say, be more of a part of the show, I guess, you know, because Becky's a big character, and I think her flight got cancelled, and that was why she didn't get to the track that day in time, because they had to figure out a different way to get her there. And I literally was just wandering up the pits to go and talk to, who was I going to talk to? Sebastian Fontaine, because he'd qualified in Iron Drift King to be a part of DMEC that weekend. And I was like, oh, he's competed for DMEC before. I'll quickly just go grab an interview with him. And as I was walking to his pits, Kian basically texted me and he was like, "Can you come to the office?" I got there and he explained what had happened with Becky. And he was like, "I've put your name forward. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I do. That sounds awesome. And I mean, for me, it was a much easier job because I just feel so at home doing it, you know, like I really loved it. It was great fun, and I just felt it was like, no matter what, if it never happens again, I get to say I've done it. Does that make sense? It was like one of those things, like,
that's so cool.
Off the list, like, it was awesome. And it was so cool getting to be, they kind of trusted me a little bit, like with Red Bull, because I don't think they obviously, they didn't know who I was. They were like, just the Instagram guy, right? Like, they were like, "Oh, who's this?" You know, we don't know if he's gonna be able to do it. But they allowed me so many interviews, more than I think that they'd planned, and it was just great. It was such a great experience, man. And like, I kind of got to feel like really part of the show. Does that make sense? It was like, wow, this is so cool. Like, this is like just so mad. I just wondered what it was like from your side, because obviously we've all become kind of close in the background, you know, like from, you know, like you say, I'm normally running around and I'm normally like this with Orjan, like, "Orjan, can you know, that's normally how it was." Yeah. So like, it was just so much fun. I just wondered what it was like, you getting to see, like, why is Adam there? Like, because I didn't know I was going to be doing it. So you guys obviously had no idea either. And it was just like one of those things where I was just like, man, this is going to be funny. Like, because all the boys were all going to be like, "Oh, it's just ads. So we just do the Instagram stuff." And then all of a sudden it was, "Yo, we're on Red Bull TV. Don't sweat."
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. So it's so cool.
It was great fun, man. It was great fun. So this season, obviously, it's not gone to plan, really, with the crashes and the engine blowing up. And you went out top 32, was it, in Germany, or top 16?
Top 32, yeah. It was against Oliver Randalu. I've been battling him quite a lot through the years now, actually. I beat him in Riga last year, and he beat me previously. Before that, he beat me in Ireland. So we've been driving together, and we did some runs on the practice session too before the top 32. So he's really good. He's really, really good, and I knew I had to push hard. And he was just pushing a little bit more than me, so he got to win. But it was one of those few times this year where I actually felt that after I parked the car after the battle, I was like, oh man, that sucks. But we did have a lot of driving this weekend. I've been finally focusing on the driving and not that the car is breaking down or something happens, you know. So that gave me like a boost moving forward, because when you hit the bottom and you think you've hit the bottom, then you experience something more, then you don't know what to think anymore, you know, what to expect, what's the next. It's becoming quite dark at some point, but you know, we just kept pushing through the year. It started in Ireland when I moved on to the top 16. Was feeling really good on that track. What's just unbelievable, I just had to bring it. It's my qualification run on Instagram. It just hit 5 million views.
Wow.
On Instagram.
Big numbers.
That's big. That's a big number.
That's a big number.
100K. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And now it's 5 million. So it was a really good weekend up till top 16. And I was warming my tires for the battle with Kevin Sculty. And he's also really good. Like everyone
this season, so many drivers have been like, "No, I'm here now." That's kind of how it seems. Like it feels like for me last year, it felt like a lot of people were maybe a bit nervous and like didn't really give it their all a lot of the time, because there's some massive names in Drift Masters. There is some, when you think of drifting, most of the names in Drift Masters are the ones that will come to your head, right? Like the big names that are as well established winners, and they're all there to try and beat you. It's one of those things. And I feel this year the three, I'd say there's been three drivers that really stood out. Obviously you've had a lot of misfortune this season, but Kevin Pascolti has become a shining star, and I'm sure the Hungarian people are really going to start getting behind him soon, because I think he is already a rather popular young man. He gets a lot of likes and a lot of attention on him, and he is a wonderful human being. I really love Kevin. He's great. And once again, much like yourself, small family team that have very small, they turn up in a van, towing the car, and it's the dad, and his mum comes on sometimes, and his sister, and they've got maybe a mechanic and a spotter. I think his sister even does the spotting for him now. You know what I mean? And he has been absolutely amazing. Juha Rittinen, once again, this season in his new GR86 has been phenomenal. And that noise that car makes is just unbelievable when it's like, coming off power. It's like, insane. And then obviously Lauri Heinonen, who has been outstanding. Like, oh my goodness me, that 300 extra horsepower has just turned him into an absolute monster. And then obviously it's just been an amazing season to see more people grow. And also Diego Correa, he got on the podium as well this year. An incredible Portuguese driver with a Frankenstein car. It's a BMW with a Mercedes engine. It's such a unique thing, and there's just so many characters in drifting. I really hope to bring more of them to the podcast, but over time, obviously. But it's been a really interesting season. Are we going to see you back next year?
Oh yeah.
So we've definitely got Orjan Nilsen for 2024.
Yep.
Good.
I'm in a journey, and I'm not quitting until I win.
Excellent, man.
At
Well, I'll
least
be
I'm
honest,
gonna
man.
try. So
I had you down this season as one of my top contenders. Like at the start of the season, I always kind of make a little plan, and I was like, man, Orjan had some hard luck last year. I feel like if you can get your car working and not send it to space at Sweden again, then we might be on for a high finish. But unfortunately, that car did some barrel rolls. The engine popped itself at one point, right, and drive shaft issues. And did you have a gearbox or diff issue at one point? I can't remember. Like there's
yeah, that was when I was warming my tires for the battle with Kevin.
yeah.
Ireland,
Yeah.
the first round. The gearbox, one of the gears just broke, like warming the tires. No power, no
So
whatever.
unfortunate.
But yeah, so that was it for that weekend. And you know, drifting is like that. It keeps you hard sometimes.
It really is. It really is. But with all the mega lows, drifting does give you some of the highest highs as well. And
It does.
it's great. So we've got one more event left, like we've been mentioning, Poland, 53,000 people. How will you be spending your off season?
For sure, I will start working on the car immediately after Poland. We have we're maybe gonna put it on an exhibition in October, so I'm gonna try to make the roof look better again. We are currently not planning to build any new car because the car is actually, you wouldn't believe it, but after that roll in Sweden, the car is fine. It's just the cosmetics with the roof and a little bit there, so we're gonna fix that. So I'm going to start straight after Poland, working on the car, maybe even start making some fiberglass now before I leave for Poland to get ready. I'm thinking more and more onto the next year, like what I'm going to do, what can we do better, and how can I be prepared. So I have this extra sword that I use on the winter.
Okay, cool.
It was my first time using it this winter, but I only got to run like three weekends of it, and had a lot of fun, like driving on the ice with Fredrik Osbo and the best guys in Norway. It was
awesome. Are you friends with Fredrik Osbo? Just out of curiosity, like, are you guys kind of close? Obviously, being fellow countrymen, or
we're not close, but we're good friends.
Good.
I would say, yeah. He let me, or there was this one time because obviously he's ambassador for Toyota, and they have these Toyota track days. And a couple of years ago, he wanted me to step in for him when he couldn't attend himself.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I got to drive his 1,000 horsepower GD86. At that point, I only had like 700. So that was a huge experience for me, and like getting the trust from Fredrik Osbo. He was my idol. He's still my idol. To do that was just unbelievable. And to drive with him on the ice, and him and so many other guys from Norway, it's just really fun and back to the basics, really, and like very good practice for the chase game, and also having the same car on the ice, like rubbing the rear bumper onto the ice, like snow. It's actually really good to put that into my pro drift car, to bring that experience from the winter, so I just keep it alive, that I don't go months without drifting.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be ice drifting for sure.
Cool, man. I'm very jealous. I wish I could do that. I got to do it over in Sweden. Got flown in by Toyota UK to do it with them years ago now. Back when I was a more notable figure online, I got invited over, and man, what a great experience that was. It was funny. I got in trouble. I think you'd have been proud of me. I got in trouble because the guy didn't want to send cars out together. They didn't want any cars twinning. But I was like, there's no way I've been flown in all the way from England to Sweden in the first class of an aeroplane, staying in a 5-star hotel for me just to drift a car at 10 mile an hour on its own. So when the guy called out the first car, I know the lad in front of us could do a skid. He's not so much a drifter, more of a maniac, but I was like, I know he can control a sliding car. So I was like, I just said to him, don't look back and just keep drifting. Like, just keep the car sideways. And he was like, why? I was like, I'm going to follow you out. And he was like, okay, because he's a bit of a naughty boy. So he was like, he didn't care that we were breaking some rules or whatever. And as the guy called him out, I just followed him out on the bumper. I was like, I'm not stopping. I was like, this guy can just jump around. I'm just gonna go. And we were like skidding the cars around like this, and we were like, I was getting really close to him, and the guy was panicking. He was like, stop, and we were like, just like keep going. And like Toyota, thankfully, the guy at Toyota, Andy, at the time he worked for Toyota, he sorted out the trip for us. He was like, I definitely shouldn't be saying that was good, but that was great. He was like, the content we've got from that is unbelievable, because it's like photos of the GT86s, like me full on the door of a car. You know what I mean? And I was like,
yeah,
you're paying all this money to have us here. Like, let's do something that people are going to see. You know, like I don't want just the experience. I want memories. You know, like so. It was great. So I'm very jealous you get to do that. Do you have any hobbies outside of drifting?
Outside of drifting, so I like to travel. Like I don't have a lot of money for that, but if I can go on a mountain hike, maybe, yeah, do a short trip to the mountains. I want to do skiing, but I don't have a lot of time for it during the winter. But definitely going to try for it this year, just to do something else that's not cars. So my girlfriend is from a really nice place where the winter is good. So meaning that there's a lot of snow, very nice weather.
Yeah.
And doing some long hikes on the skiing is nice. So at this point, so actually now my car is parked in Poland, and waiting for me to arrive next week. And it's a good feeling to have some spare time. Obviously, I do a lot of sim training, but I also try to do some workouts to just have be prepared for for me it's a big tool mentally, to do some workouts and being with friends, just hanging out, and not so much more. I don't really have the time for it. I also run the 59 knot wheels in Norway.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, you sell them. They're like, that's your like thing, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Cool.
I'm the retailer in Norway, and it's become like almost my second job, because
Cool.
there's a lot of rims going out, and it's really fun, but sometimes also challenging to combine it with the full-time job and drifting aside. So making time for other hobbies is not so easy. So I just try to enjoy those few moments when, like this Saturday, me and my girlfriend, we went to the city, just enjoying life for a couple of hours, and then back home to work. But I just try to really enjoy those few moments I have outside the car life. Yeah.
To decompress, and I feel like there is such thing as too much of a good thing. I believe that. Like, so I feel like you have to have something that. So I'm very lucky, because I have a bit of I've never been diagnosed, but I have a bit of an ADHD brain. Like, I have to try everything. Like I'm like one of them people that so for instance, on Sunday I was up at Arsenal watching the football, and I love it. I could tell you everything about everyone that plays for Arsenal. I love football. Like I have friends that work in the club, like quite like one of them he should be stepping into the first team of the women's side soon, doing the S&C, like the sports coaching and recovery and all that sort of stuff, and strength and conditioning and all that. So it's I have friends that organize all the stuff for the kids there. Like, Arsenal Football Club are a big part of my life now. Do you know what I mean? So like, I love being able to go there, and like, just for an hour and a half, I don't think of anything about anything. It's just what's going on that football pitch, and like, just get to talk football and blah blah blah. I also like playing golf now. I don't know.
Nice.
I never thought I'd be a golfer. I'm telling you now. Like, I was I never thought it, but then I wanted to spend a bit more time with my dad. He's getting a bit older, and I was like, well, we need to have memories and something where it's not just work, because I work with my dad as well. So I was like, I don't want every memory I have to just be about office furniture and working. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was like not what I wanted. So got into golf, and I love golf now. Like, it's got to a thing like, oh my god, yeah. Like, I'm playing. I'm actually playing tomorrow morning. I've took the day off work to go and have a round with my godfather.
Nice.
I'm a big believer in that you should have other hobbies other than your main one, because otherwise it's all encompassing and you start to not love it, because I mean, right now I've got a broken car in my garage, and I can't decide what to do. And if I think about it too much, it drives me insane, whether I upgrade it and spend I mean, we've priced it up, and it's going to be about £6,500, or about €8,500, €9,000 to fix. Well, not to fix, but to upgrade the parts that might be going, and like
Yeah.
the diff. Yeah, and I'm like, well, if I'm changing the diff, I might as well change the shafts to be, Skyline ones, so I can run stronger tires, and then I look at the value of it all, and I'm like, my head's going to explode. I don't want to spend £6,500. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, let's put that in the garage. I'm going to go hit some balls into a hole, and then I'm going to come back in 4 hours, and then I'll have another think about it. And like, I think it's great to have that decompression stuff. So if you love to travel and go into the city with your other half and spend some quality time with her and just do that, I think it's a valuable thing to have, especially with a Drift Masters weekend where you're a competitor spending all that money to get around, to be there. And like I said, some of the lads are very fortunate and have definitely earned their way up there, or financially can just afford it, like to have race teams and have people take the cars there and get it. But when it's one of the lads making it on their own, paying for everything out of scraping every penny together, it's great for me to see it when you guys start doing really well. Like, I try never to have favorites. That's what I try and like, because I get on so well with most of the grid. Like, I feel like I could literally come and visit most of the grid at their own place and just it'd feel normal, not like, oh, I've got to go visit, and I have no problems with just messaging you and be like, oh yeah, we come on a podcast with me. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, what if he says no? If you'd have said no, I'd be like, shut the fuck up. You're doing a podcast with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've got them relationships with a lot of the drivers now, and it's great. And I look at everyone differently. So obviously you've got like one end of the scale. You've got Peter Wycheck, who is a two-time champion. He's got 2 cars. He's got a massive team that, but I still get on really well with him. And like, when his car went wrong in Finland, I was like, man, I feel gutted for the guy. Do you know what I mean? Because like, everyone's putting in a huge amount of effort here, and no one wants to win through the other guy having a mechanical failure. I feel like that's a big part of drifting. You want to win on the fact that you've won on merit. You have beat that person in battle. You haven't got a free pass through. And I feel like, when you see a car go wrong, I mean, and that shows like Peter has a great team with 2 cars, and even his cars go wrong. So I think that shows how strenuous it is on the vehicles, and the testament to the teams that keep it working. And I just think we're part of something really special. I genuinely do. And I hope this grows for everybody, like, I really hope that drifting becomes something that more people watch, and instead of it just being the highlight clips you might see on Instagram or TikTok or wherever you consume content, I hope that more people will start sitting down and watching the event on a weekend like they will do with the F1. So my dad is a convert. My dad himself never cared about drifting. He didn't care. Like, when I got into it, he thought it was ridiculous. He was like, what is this you're spending all your money on? And you're going where? Ireland and Poland, and what you do? Like, he couldn't fathom that I was like, I'm spending every penny I have to go to Ireland this weekend to drive my car around. He was like, I don't get it. Like, the second I got the Drift Masters job, he started watching it on the Red Bull TV. And he's a convert. He won't watch F1 anymore because of that whole Lewis Hamilton situation that happened a couple of seasons ago. So he thinks that's ridiculous. He's like, he won't watch it anymore. And now drifting is his motorsport. And it's funny for me because he'll be texting me throughout the event like, why did that guy win? I don't understand. And I'll explain. He'll be like, oh, okay, I kind of get that now. And then I started like realizing, like, if people like him are watching it and they don't fully understand, and that gives me ideas for content, getting Kevin, the head judge, out on the track. Right, you come with me, we're filming a video and telling people what they need, why you're choosing this stuff. You know what I mean? And it gives us loads of, I know the whole thing isn't to make content, it's to make a fantastic drift series, which, like I said again, I feel so lucky to be a part of, in even the smallest way possible. And I'm glad that the Instagram and the TikToks are growing, but mainly I'm glad that I can give you guys extra platform to say your bits on, because the Red Bull stuff is run like it is a show. It's run as a TV show. That's what it is. So strict schedules. And that was what surprised me when I was doing the interviews. They were like, you're going to have 90 seconds with Connor. And I was like, 90 seconds? Like, wow, we're so pinpoint. And then they'd be in my ear going, yep, wrap it up. And I was like, okay, cheers. Well, yeah, get back in your car. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, but that's where the beauty of like what I do, I realized how valuable it is, where I can just come to you and be like, you got as long as you want, just talk.
Yeah.
And
so
and it's just such a nice, nicely run, fantastically run. I think everybody wants everybody to succeed in Drift Masters now, and all of the media team want all of the drivers to succeed. All the drivers want the championship to succeed because obviously it benefits you guys. And I hope that you as a driver feel the same. Like I feel like we've got the best judges. I know that there's a lot of, it's hard, I feel like, with the judges because they're never going to win, right? The judges are always gonna be in a situation where they get shouted at, right, by everyone.
Always like that.
Maybe I need to do a podcast with Kevin O'Connell and get him on and let him have his tour. But I feel like we're in a wonderful place, and we've got the biggest event ever in drifting, I'd probably say, coming up with Poland, and it's in the place where Drift Masters originated from, because obviously it was a Polish series to start with. We're going back to Poland. We've got 5 or 6 drivers that can still win the championship in the final day, which is crazy. We've got 2 Irish, Finnish, Polish. Who else is up there? We've got so many top drivers now from all over Europe. But yeah, there's some big names that can still win this, and there's some battles. Like, everyone is friends off of the track, but on the track there's some battles. You can just tell when someone really wants to win, and I wouldn't say so much we've got egos yet. I think that I think a lot of it, like, everyone is still friendly. After Germany, when everyone was partying at the Shanahan's pits, that was magic. I remember, because I didn't drink. I don't really drink all that much, as you saw in Riga. Why I don't drink that much. So but being able to witness it all as a sober person, still in the reality of sobriety, and I can look around and I go, right, we've got Peter Wojcik over there, you got Diogo Correa like dancing over there with Orjan Nilsen, and then you've got over there, you got the Shanahans laughing, with, and it's just like, you got Dwayne McKeever, you got all of the drivers. Kevin Pascolti turns up. It's like, this is the grid. It's just now all dancing and having a laugh together and relaxing, and the tension of the weekend's dropped, and everyone can just go back to having fun, right? Like, it's like great. And I hope the community side of it all sticks around even as drifting carries on growing. I hope it does carry on growing. I think I don't know if any surprises have been announced yet, so I'm not going to say anything, but there's definitely a big surprise coming in Poland, and I can't wait to see the general reaction, because it's just going to bring more eyes on, and it's going to be awesome, man. And how would you summarize this season? Because we'll wind down the podcast now. How would you summarize this season? What can we expect from you next season? And let's just summarize it with that.
All right. So this season, it's been quite the one I didn't expect. So we did what we could to make it a good season, but you can't stop learning, and that's my biggest lesson this year. It's like, it's always going to happen things, and you just have to accept it. So we had some good weekends where we just took the small wins, and I think that's important to keep in the game when stuff like this happens. And also Sweden, I will never forget that weekend, and all the people that came to help the community. Forever grateful to everyone that came to help, and my team for not giving up on me. Like, you start like doubting, and they just push you, and it's just so amazing to have a team that wants it just as much as me. And for the rest of the season in Poland, you're gonna know it, that I will rub the walls. That's what I love, and gonna push hard for that weekend. Want to get a good result, but not. I will not be very disappointed if I don't win, because the grid, it's just so crazy right now. So I have to be realistic. I want to be up there, and that's what my goal is for next year. Now I just want to have a good weekend, just have fun, enjoy the show in front of that crowd, and whatever happens. So for next year, I'm going to work hard and try to also relax more on the races. One of the things I've learned this year is it never has to be perfect. If you keep chasing perfection, then I think maybe you will run out in the end, and just accept that it is what it is. You're doing what you can with what you have, and I think that's important in what you do in drifting and in life. You do what you do with what you have, and just make the most of it. Enjoy it, So for next year, gonna push hard, gonna bring some upgrades on the car to make it more competitive. How competitive Azuero can be, I don't know, but I feel it's quite competitive, and we're just going to keep evolving that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward. I think Driftmasters has some exciting plans for next year too, which I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, just going to work hard to be ready.
Can't wait to see it, Orjan. Thank you so much for joining me. You're my first guest on the rebirth of my podcast, and I couldn't have asked for a better one. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, if you've made it this far. I think we've been talking for God knows how long. I don't even know. There's no timer on here saying, but we've been talking for a while. But this is what I wanted. I want long-form conversation with the best drivers in the world, and yeah, we're gonna have. So this is gonna be a drift section. I still don't have a name for it, because I want to have multiple different aspects of my life, conversational wise, on here. So the drifting and drift masters is obviously a massive part of it for me. It's my favorite thing I get to do. I genuinely love it. I really do. And I'd love to be able to get more on, and obviously have you on as another guest in the future. It's not just a one and a done type thing, so don't worry.
That's good. I think we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you so much for asking me and giving me this opportunity. It's quite an honor. You're a good friend, and I really appreciate that you wanted to have me on as your first guest. It means a lot, and I can't wait to see you in Poland.
Yeah, Poland, baby. 53,000 people. Orjan Nilsen is going to be crazy. I cannot wait. Make sure you guys tune in. Rebel TV. It is free to watch. Never, ever, ever pay to watch Drift Masters. It is free to watch. Do not give the scammers your money. Go and buy a 621 hat instead. That would be great if you could do that. Orjan, thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening. And if you aren't subscribed to wherever the podcast is being listened to, please do. There's going to be plenty more to come. So, yeah. See you, everybody, in the next one.